Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is Freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, this is Anna and welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interviewed Chelsea Lee Rock. Chelsea is a certified NLP health coach and former fitness model. She created an academy online called Wake Up Excited. She's also created a program helping women find their confidence, get healthy and gain their life back in her Confidence is Sexy course. Professionally, Chelsea was a personal trainer and instructor for 5 years and former Nutri dietitian. Chelsea is currently about to gear up for a TEDx talk and is frequent speaker on multimedia channels. She's also the co-author of the 30-30 Rule and Life Coach. She's been featured in magazines such as Magic Image, Hollywood Magazine, Life by Design, San Diego's Fine Magazine, and many, many more. And I recently met Chelsea in the Clubhouse app and we connected. She's been crushing it for me on my Instagram profile and I'm really super excited to be interviewing Chelsea. Hi Chelsea, thanks ever so much for spending the time for this interview. It's great to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be here. I love when we do things like this.
I was trying to work out, it's the beginning of the year, wasn't it? It was January that we connected through Clubhouse, and it's awesome to be working with you and you're helping me with my Instagram profile right this minute. So great to have you on the show. But I know that it's funny because I kept thinking I should get you on this podcast, and obviously we've been so busy with reels and sharing all sorts of stuff about my business that I hadn't kind of like got you in the diary, but it's great to get you on because the Freedom Podcast, we focus on 3 pillars. Freedom in love, which is all around self-care and the love that we give out to the world. Freedom in money, which is obviously financial freedom. And then freedom in mind, which for me encompasses it all. And the reason I have these 3 pillars is these are the 3 things that got me kind of equilibrium in my life. Because if one of them goes off kilter, and don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. There are weeks where I'm like, I'm not doing enough self-care, or weeks where I'm like, I need to earn more, you know what I mean? Or mindset where I'm like, we can assume if we're not feeding our growth mindset, we can kind of lose that balance. Those are the 3 things that keep me equilibrium in my life. And the other reason I put this podcast together was to share stories that when you're going through a tough period in life, it's great to hear other people's stories because it inspires you to keep going. And it also normalizes your drama that's going on in your life because I believe that we all have adversities, we just have just different extents to them. So yeah, it's great to have you on the show because I know your life hasn't been like all plain sailing, has it? You've had ups and downs, but you're absolutely crushing it right now on Insta and doing the do. So share to everybody how you kind of got to this point where you were doing what you do now, because I know you were an actress as well at one point, so share your story with us.
Yeah, so I moved to LA when I was 20 to be an actress, and you know, it's funny because I always thought I would just do entertainment and do acting something my whole life. When I was 25, I was literally driving down the freeway and I had this thought of, if in 10 years from now I win an Academy Award, is that worth it to me? Do I want to do that? And the answer was no. And so as I thought about that, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get out of this because it was all these different things kind of being thrown at me at once, right? My roommate was 7 years older than me and she was like hustling like crazy, 4 different jobs, going on auditions, never sleeping. And I just looked at that and I thought, I don't want to do that. I want to do something that, just like you were talking about a minute ago, like creating more of an impact, creating more of a freedom. Because even though I loved it, it didn't create the freedom that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So what happened was I transitioned by going from that to health. I'd always been I would always say my 2 favorite loves were health and fitness or fitness and acting, like health and fitness and acting. And so I decided to be a fitness model. And so at the time I was personal training, I was modeling, and that was also really fun. But again, I was like, okay, that was the actual like tipping point for me to realize how do I monetize this? So at that time, this was 2015, and I started getting all these cool deals, right? Like I was getting deals with Instagram companies and peanut butters and protein powders, just cool, fun, like restaurants around the city would be like, come have food on us and like just write about us on Instagram. And I thought, wait a second, I need to do something with this. I need to create an actual business out of this. But I didn't know what I was doing. So I'd play around a little bit. I'd go back and forth to like, okay, well, I'll go bartender, waitress, because I wanted to go all in with my business. But there were so many little things that I didn't know how to do at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's funny, isn't it, how you go on that? Because I never knew this. I just knew I knew that you'd done the actress stuff, and I knew how my son, he wants to be an actor now. He's only 10.
Oh, really?
He wants to be an actor. And a lot of people I know here in the UK that have gone down that path found it really difficult. Like you say, like they're hustling to get. They're doing a lot of things where they're not getting paid really to get that big break, which could never happen. And I think it's a shame really, because that creative side, like the arts and the creative side of things, are always a bit like that, or musicians, and always seem to be kind of like hustling for the big break. But once they get the big break, it's like absolutely huge, isn't it? So I can see how you then went on that journey, and now with all the product stuff that you do and all the opportunities that you get with brands, I can see how you kind of gone through that path. So what would you say has been like the most challenging time, whether that be in business or personally, that you can sort of share? That, because I always think people that are listening to this, life isn't plain sailing, is it? And it can sometimes give comfort to someone who could be going through a really difficult time, because we know that, especially at the moment with pandemic, I think there's that uncertainty, isn't there? And people are having health problems, people having financial problems, people having anxiety that goes through the roof. So what have been the challenges that you've kind of faced along the way?
To be honest with you, what really started was I was so focused when I first started on like hitting the numbers and wanting to get rich quick, kind of, you know what I mean? Like I thought, oh, okay, I would see some of my friends. I thought, oh, they're making so much money, so can I. And I kind of got into the wrong mindset, or I would go all in and I would quit my bartending or serving job and just be like, I'm just going to do my business. And I did that before I was ready. I think that was the biggest thing. Is I think everybody has their different journey. Some people, they go all in and they just crush it. For me, I did more of the slow, steady pace. But what I really found earlier, like a few years ago, is I got to the point where I just wanted to make sure that the way I looked was I'm really successful, right? So like I would put myself into this image of like, I've got it all together, but I was like on food stamps or I was struggling, and I think becoming real, more like just more of a real person in the sense of like being authentic, that really, really helped me to push myself into the right frame of mind. When I started serving more, giving more, being more authentic, that's when my business took off. And I know it sounds cliche, and I know a lot of people say that, but I didn't really understand that until I went through it, especially when it came down to the little things like, maybe someone would be my Uber driver, maybe someone would clean my car, and I would give them a tip. And then they would be like, come back anytime. Like, I can't believe you gave us a tip. Like, we'll do your services anytime for like a discount. Little things like that I think we need to remember to serve and be more generous. And that can really, really help. That was something for me. It's just kind of taking away that image.
I think also you can't, even though, like you say, you hear it all the time about being authentic, you can't actually get that until you go through it yourself as an experience. Because I feel like I went through that. I think the early stages of being online, it was all that fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yes.
Pretending to be.
Exactly.
You didn't want to make a mistake. And then you actually just realise with experience that actually it's fine to be, you become more comfortable doing what you're doing.
Yes.
And I think you can't teach that. You've got to go through it as an experience. So that's a really good point for someone who could be looking to go online when they feel like they maybe are in that stage, that they don't need to do that,
Well, and I also think trusting why you started. I love this. There's a saying that says, God put something in your heart for a reason, like whether that's, it could be any job, right? Some people love being teachers. I don't have any desire to teach middle school or preschool kids, right? But some people love that. They feel like that's their calling. And for me, I loved being in front of the camera. I loved social media. I had a degree in PR. I'm like, how do I combine all these little facets to create what I want to create while building a business that actually is about helping people too? It's not just about like me gaining, because I see that a lot with social media. It's like, oh, look what I'm doing. Look what this. It's like, yeah, I can do that with brands, but I don't want to, because I don't want to have that kind of relationship.
Yeah. Now I know where you get all your kind of like your angles from when you're doing all your pictures.
Yes.
That whole modeling thing. It all makes sense now. I'm getting to understand the whole journey a bit better. I love it. So I know that you did share, like, didn't you have like a cancer scare at some point?
I did, yes. In 2018.
And
Yeah,
so,
I had.
I mean, don't worry if you don't. I've just put you on the spot there. So don't worry if you don't want to share that. But I know that I think I've seen it on your Instagram. How did that sort of affect you?
So I had cancer cells on my cervix, and I remember being really scared and afraid because I was by myself. I was living in California at the time. And that was actually a big reason why I decided to move out of California, as I felt like my support system wasn't there. A lot of my friends had moved away or got married. And for me, that was a real eye-opening, like wake up call kind of moment. Like, of course, my friends would call or something, but even just going into surgery and all the stuff that I went through, I did have an ex-boyfriend at the time who was there with me. But other than that, I didn't feel like I had a strong support system. So I moved out of California and I moved down south because my sister lived, and I love the South. I love Southern culture. But what I did is kind of interesting. I kind of did the same thing I was doing after that. For most people, I feel like they have this experience of, I'm going to live life differently. I'm going to do things differently. I didn't really have that. I actually started to gain weight, and I felt really, really out of my own element. I think it had a lot to do with leaving California because that felt like home. And so then I'm in the South. I'm actually in Nashville, Tennessee at this point. That's right before the pandemic. And I had this thought where that was like the spur, getting your wheels turning, lighting a fire. That was like, I've got to do this. I've got to build a business that works, because before it was just like cherry picking, right? It was just hit or miss. I had a client here, a client there. And for anyone who's listening to this, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, you're not playing as a professional, you're still playing as an amateur. And I think that's the biggest difference. I see some very successful people in different fields that are still in that spot, and they're just like, how do I break free? So I teach a little bit of that in my course of how to kind of get out of being stuck, breaking free from those patterns, because that can really, really struggle. That's like your struggle mode, right? Like that can really hinder your success, because you're like, well, I've done this before and it hasn't worked. Or the pattern that you've gone to over and over again is the pattern that you're reverting to again. So what I did is I changed the pattern, I changed my thinking, and I had this innate feeling like, I don't want anyone to be in charge of my income. I don't want to be, having an issue with losing my job or, and so anyway, that was why I decided to really, really be serious about my business, and actually really took off about a year ago. A little over a year ago.
Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? How like you can also have like, it is a lot of it is around mindset and fear of just going for it a lot of the time. Because I think when I was in like my difficult marriage, I kept like trying to I was starting to do, like you say, like ad hoc-y stuff where it just wasn't consistent enough. But I think it's because my environment was firefighting, really. I think when you're more happy and content with who you are and your mindset, then you can 100%. Go. I had to say to myself recently, because I think you're always ambitious and wanting bigger goals all the time. I think sometimes being in some of the big rooms in Clubhouse, you're like, I want this, and it is inspiring, but it's also like,
yeah, I make 9 figures, don't you?
And recently I had to say to myself, look, Anna, you've actually, and I had to like congratulate myself. I was like, I set out to replace my full-time income in my corporate job where I got a company car. Okay, I don't have a company car now, but we've not been able to drive anywhere anyway because of COVID. But you know, like, and so I've surpassed that. But because I'm very ambitious and I'm looking at the next thing and this and that, and I start, because I'm like in my 40s now, I'm thinking about retirement and just thinking of that dream lifestyle when I retire and all of this stuff. I thought, actually, just slow down a minute and congratulate yourself, because without you congratulating yourself, you have actually did that. And I did that like probably 18 months, 2 years ago. But it's like all the time you're always looking for the next thing, because all I ever wanted to do was be able to just work around my boys, but have the same income as I did in my job. But now I've like smashed that, but I'm like not congratulating myself on, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm still going for the next thing because there's more things that I want to do. There's more travel that I want to do, and I kind of want more freedom. But sometimes you do have to actually take time out and sort of reflect on how far you've come, really.
I love that.
So it's good hearing your journey, because I think we all need to do that. I said to one of my students recently who was thinking that they'd had a product, it hadn't done very well, they haven't really got the income that they want yet. But I said, look at how far you've come, because actually you could be a consultant now in a business that's really been struggling through COVID and needs like Amazon support, or, you know, what they've got the products offline and get them on Amazon. You've got a lot of skill. You've learned a lot about Amazon. Okay, you haven't quite got the income yet, but you know, you could actually be helping other businesses, because you only realize how much you know when you speak to someone that knows nothing. But we're all trying to be a better expert than we are, you know, like, because I look up to like some of the 9-figure sellers for Amazon, and it makes me feel like I don't know anything. But then when I speak to people who are not earning what, you know what I mean? It just, it's an interesting thing. We need to congratulate ourselves more. So well done for your journey. It's inspiring, especially when you said that you did, you know, you didn't have the support when you were going to and you also moved, didn't you? You know, you've moved around. And I think sometimes we had this chat recently that online is like, you don't really know who to trust as well, you know? There is that difficult thing. We're all building connections, but I also have met some really cool people online, you know, but I think Moore's a little bit wary. So well done on your inspiring journey so far.
Thank you. Sorry, there was like a fuzz that went up my nose. I'm like, I got it. Anyway, this is real life.
So tell everybody that's listening, because for people that are listening, Chelsea has been helping me with my Instagram. I've had some awesome reels. I've filled like my groups, my Amazon groups, and she just really knows her stuff when it comes to Insta and TikTok and some of the other social platforms. So tell everybody what is happening at the moment in Chelsea Lee Rock's world.
So I only got on TikTok like 4 months ago, and I for a long time was like, I'm not going to do this. This is silly. It's a bunch of videos that, you know, just people dancing. But actually Clubhouse really changed that for me. A lot of my friends were like, no, TikTok is the platform to be on. So I jump on. My first couple videos, nothing, like a couple hundred views. Then all of a sudden it started really, really climbing. And then I started getting really into it from a business perspective. I started listening to podcasts and talking to the experts. And what I learned is, you know, the little things that I'll share with you guys, you know, it's really important on view time. It's really important for people to watch your video all the way through. And if they watch it again, if they replay it, then you have a much higher chance of it getting pushed out through the algorithm. So I started to kind of play around with those like tricks and like tips I learned. And that's what really built it. I've gone viral twice now in the last, I think in less than a month, just around a month. One of them hitting 1 million, other one hitting like 800,000. So, you know, the video content that can be pushed out through TikTok is so different than other platforms. Instagram is awesome. They're all awesome, right? So I teach Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest, and I teach them all from a perspective of video format and content creation. So, you know, making sure that the videos pop, making sure that your videos attract people and catch their attention within 2 seconds. And then also, of course, like combining all of that with the content, revamping your bio, making sure you're actually making money online, because that's the whole point, right? Like, why are we all online? You know, I didn't start out online like probably most of us, or at least me being a millennial. I didn't start out online to make money. I did it because it was fun and because I was in college and whatever. Now I only use those platforms for monetary business purposes and or connections. It's really all I use all the social platforms for. And I do believe that connection is currency and that your net worth is your network, right? So who are we surrounding ourselves with? Who are you following on Instagram? That's a big one. People like to follow everyone or follow everyone back. Follow people that you want to see their content. You don't have to follow everyone back. But anyway, I'm going down a whole thing of rabbit trails. But
if we leave any longer, she'll go into a full masterclass because Chelsea. I know. And you've also done brand partnerships and all sorts of different things, haven't you?
Yes. So that's another course I teach. I teach you how to work with brands and get paid.
Yep. I noticed recently by doing a bit of stalking, you were doing your dummies. Is Instagram for Dummies, was it?
Yes. Okay. I'm so glad you brought that up, Anna. Instagram for Dummies is starting actually next week. I have my assistant working on creating it's really not even a course. It's going to be like a mini 3-day intensive. I just want everyone to get as much as they can because I really do believe that everyone should be making money online because you can. And my cousin, for example, she's got 1,500 followers. She's like, I'm not an influencer, but I gave her some tips. I told her how to pitch. She's now making some money and or getting awesome product from companies, and she doesn't have a big following. So that's part of it, is teaching you all the things that you're not going to find somewhere else. You're not going to find on Google. You're not going to find by listening to somebody who's not an expert tell you. So that's part of it. But yeah, it's coming. It's going to be released probably by the time this is released.
Yeah, this should be out next week. So
perfect.
So if people are listening to this, how do they come and well, you know, obviously it's Instagram and TikTok and Pinterest that you're on. How do they get in touch with you, Chelsea?
Yeah, so I can send you the link. I don't have the link just yet for the actual event, but they can just find me. All my platforms are the same name. It's just Chelsea Lee Rock. I would highly suggest Instagram first, and then we can connect other platforms just because it's the easiest. I do check my DMs. So just, you know, Instagram.com/Chelsea Lee Rock, LEE.
I'll put the details in the comments.
Yeah. I guess you don't need to do all that.
Yeah, so everyone can get in touch. And if you're interested in Chelsea's courses, then do get in touch with her. So I always ask everybody at the end of the interview, what does freedom mean to you? So what does freedom mean to you, Chelsea?
I love this question. You know, I think if I had asked, or you had asked me this question a couple of years ago, I would have had a different answer. But for me right now, I think that it means being in that peace and comfort. And that could be anything. You know what I mean? Like being able to be at home, drink a cup of coffee, not rush to work because I do run my own schedule. That gives me so much more freedom than if I had to, you know, check a box or be right on that clock. And I've always been that person that's never liked to punch a clock ever. Even when I was working corporate or whatever, like it's just, some people like that. And I didn't actually know that until a few years ago, but some people actually really love that. And that's fine. We need people like that. But for me, what I wanted was, that's the freedom I'm talking about, that comfortability, that ease, that patience, that peace, that the ability to go somewhere and travel and have the money and not, I think it comes down to financial freedom for me as being able to pay for something and not be like, oh no, is this going to break my bank account? Or is this going to, and that takes a long time to get there because it's also a mindset, regardless of whether you have, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's a mindset. If you can have that mindset when you make $2,000 or $3,000 a month, you can have that mindset when you make more money.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I love that answer. Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for coming on the show. Chelsea Lee Rock, everybody, go check her out on Instagram. All right, thanks, Chelsea.
Thanks, Anna. This was so fun.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And if you want to get more freedom in your life, then come and join Your Freedom Project Facebook group, which the link is below in the comments section. And I am giving you a copy of my visualization manifesting book. So manifest more freedom in your life and live the life of your dreams.
Hey, Thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.